Tankers, welcome back to one of my tank reviews. Today we are going to be doing a review on the Smasher. If you are not aware, it is a Tier 7 Unidentified Nation heavy tank. And we are going to be going over some gameplay, how to play this vehicle, and some tips and tricks on how to take it out. So, starting off, we are going to be playing on Canyon, and I'm going to be pushing towards B. This tank actually has a very nice damage per minute of 2,533, which most people don't know. The penetration with the AP rounds is 140, and it does 640 damage with the main shell. The heat round has 250 penetration with 545 alpha, and the heat round and the high explosive has 85 penetration with 960 damage. So it is a lot of damage and very good penetration. The rate of fire is 3.96 if you're running gun rammer. However, I would suggest to run calibrated shells just because you get that extra 25 penetration on your heat rounds, and your high explosive actually goes up quite a bit too. As you can see, as I love to use high explosive, I slam the first one right into the front of the Comet. The aiming time is 2.45, so it isn't that bad. It's not what you call excellent, but you can see that the aiming circle really doesn't get that big when you're driving around. So it's not the end of the world having an aiming time that bad. The shell velocity is 700, so it is not the best, but it's not the worst. It's about average. I would suggest to run the shell velocity buff, as it does help out. The dispersion is 0.408, so it's not the worst dispersion, but it's not the best. But it is enough to get the job done. As you see, I slammed that shell right into the cupola of the SU-100 with a high explosive, clearing him off the map with one shell. This tank actually has fairly decent mobility, being 35 kilometers per hour forwards and 12 backwards, and this is because it has 660 horsepower, making the power to weight ratio 12.49. The traverse speed is 23 degrees a second, so it is pretty good. It makes the normal KV2 look slow, and I do like that. It actually does have a fairly decent top speed, just because one of the main issues with the KV2 is that when you try and help your team out, you're either too slow or your reload's too long, and you can't really do that part of your game to help out your team and win. Now I'm going to be pushing on this IS and slam the shell right into his side, breaking the 3K mark by just 13. Now, this tank is a collector vehicle, so that I will give you a warning. Wargaming can nerf it in the future, so that is one downside. This tank can be nerfed, and it most likely will, just because of how overpowered it is in the hands of a good player that knows how to use high explosive. And if you don't, I would suggest to learn how to use it, because this tank is just so much more fun with that high explosive added. This tank has 1,350 hit points. When you run the hit point buff, you get 1,435. I would not suggest to run the armor buff, just because this tank does not have great armor as it is, so running the armor buff would not really help you that much. One thing I will say, which is a helpful hint, when trying to take out this vehicle and you are running an SU-152, KV2, or any 150mm gun, do not shoot high explosive at the turret ring or below the gun, because this tank actually has thicker armor. It has thicker lower armor than the normal KV2, so you cannot actually penetrate it with high explosive, and it will end up shooting you back for a lot more, and it will hurt. Now you can see that the dispersion is not the greatest. When I had the flush side of an SU-152, would have been a great shot, but it just decides to miss and hit the dirt, technically ruining a one shot for the first shell of the game. and I get hit back. Now the Sticker Max is not very smart, sits right in the open, and lets me whiff that shell right over the ridge, killing him with one shell. Now the view range of this tank is decent at being at 243 meters, so it's not the best but not the worst. And the tank weighs 52 tons, so it is pretty heavy, so that is good if you want to ram some vehicles. Since this tank is a fairly decent top speed, you can get away with ramming. Now, this tank's hull armor is 120, it's 75 on the sides and 70 on the rear. The turret armor is 150, 120 on the sides and 70 on the rear. So it is very good. I will bring up a little clip of the armor from Armor Inspector, and you can see that the armor is pretty good. It's being aimed at by an IS, so the armor is not amazing, but it's also not the worst. Now, this tank, in my opinion, is completely overpowered. Wargaming's probably never going to watch my video. But from the gameplay you can see me doing, I can pretty much just roll around and shoot everything I want to in a tier 7 game and kill it. You can drive pretty much anywhere you want in a tier 7 game, everybody will die around you, and you're pretty much going to be well off anywhere you go. It's just because this gun does so much damage at being 640, and the high explosive almost doing 1,000 damage. When there's a tier 7 light tank trying to rush you and you have that extra hit points, you really just have a huge advantage over most people. And the issue with this tank for me is that there's no point to run the SU-152 anymore. It has a 2-second reload difference, and that it's not that bad of a reload difference, judging that this tank gets hit points over it and a turning turret. And it has much better accuracy because of the turning turret, because you don't have to turn the tank. And this tank has much better armor than an SU-152. So the question is, why run an SU-152 when you can run a KV-2 smashing now? So that is the one issue for this tank, is that it pretty much depletes the use of the SU-152, and that is a tank that I love and have permanently enriched. So the issue is it might ruin some of the fun, because now I'll want to run this vehicle instead of the SU. One of the other issues for me on this vehicle is it is very mobile. So really, for me, this tank doesn't have a big downside. Now, I'm not saying that I want Wargaming to nerf it, because I really like it. I'm just saying I think they might have gone a little over the top on the statistics for this vehicle. In my opinion, they should give it a 20-second reload, and that would be fair. Now, ignoring my opinion, whether or not you should buy this vehicle, I would say pick it up. It's not very expensive. It's 30 American dollars. So if you're watching this from another country, I don't know how much it would cost, but it is not super expensive. This tank is way better than any other tier 7 you could probably get. It helps you learn how to use high explosive better. It has a very overpowered gun. Its mobility is fine. It's a very fun tank to run, and if you were to run platoons, it would be even more fun. Just overall, this tank is such a great purchase. I would say purchase it immediately when you get to your house, or because you're watching this on YouTube, just purchase it immediately after the video. It's just such a great tank, it's worth every penny. Now the issue is, if they do nerf this tank, is it still going to be worth it? I would say yes, because when's the next time this vehicle is going to come out and you're going to have the opportunity to get a vehicle so different and unique as this? Not only does this tank look great, it performs great as well, and the next time it comes out, it might be in a Blitz fair or some sort of event where it might cost you $100 to get it, or you might not even be able to get it at all, and it might be in some sort of lucky spin like the Blitz fair was to get the T-22 and the E6 for Christmas this year. So this purchase is definitely worth it. Now back to the game. We have done 2,000 damage, and it is not looking the greatest for my team right now. My SU is AFK and about to be dead. Now, they do have a full health AMX 1375, but we smear him off the map and just blow him up with one shell with my precision fire skill, and max rolls him for 1,060. Now, this tank, as you can see, it just performs a little bit too well in Tier 7. Now, Tier 8, it is pretty balanced, because you really can't do much against some tanks like the ISs. When they show you their side and you're shooting heat, you still have a very hard time going through that spaced armor, and your AP just doesn't have that edge of penetration to go through. And the camera rating on this vehicle is terrible, I will add that. You really will get spotted by anything, it'll outspot you. I was driving in one of the games, there was a tank about 30 meters away from me, and it still outspotted me, even though I was only like 30 meters away from him. He shot me, and I didn't even see him, and I got killed. So yeah, this tank does not have the best camera rating, I will say that as a warning. Be prepared to be targeted. This tank is very targeted. Now, I'm not sure if that's just because I'm in Pramo and they see I'm in one of these tanks, or just that this tank is a very targeted tank in general. But I will say, be warned that you will be targeted when running a tank like this. This vehicle sort of reminds me of a 183 before its nerf, just at Tier 7, and that is why I love it so much. Now, overall, yes, buy it now, buy it every time you get the chance. It is worth every single penny, and it looks awesome too, and you're really not losing on anything. Thanks for watching my video, and I will see you in the next one.